Lonely single mom drove a drunk CEO millionaire home. Never expected he'd fall for her and change her life forever. The rain had been falling steadily all night, turning the streets into rivers of blurry headlights. Jennifer Grant tightened her grip on the steering wheel, her hands aching from hours of driving. Midnight had passed, but her shift wasn't quite over. Rent was still looming, and there was milk to buy for the morning. She checked the app. One last ride wouldn't hurt. Her request pinged. Priority pickup at the Astra Grand Hotel, the most luxurious spot downtown. She glanced at the rain outside, sighed, and tapped accept. High-end clients usually tipped well. She could use every cent. Jennifer lived in a rundown apartment on the city's edge. She juggled night shifts as a rideshare driver and daytime hours as a diner waitress. Every long shift, every aching muscle, was for her 5-year-old son, Lucas, the light of her life, lover of dinosaurs and bedtime rocket stories. She pulled up to the hotel's glowing entrance. Guests in evening gowns and tuxedos lingered beneath golden lights, umbrellas overhead, laughter bouncing off marble. Her eyes scanned the crowd, then landed on a man standing slightly apart. Tall dark suit, damp hair, bow tie undone, a glass in his hand. He wasn't moving, just staring at the pavement like it had disappointed him. She checked the name. Logan R. then rolled down the window. "Are you Logan?" she asked, raising her voice over the rain. He looked over, eyes red-rimmed but steady. Without answering, he got into the back seat and closed the door. "I just want to go home," he muttered. Jennifer nodded. "Sure thing." The app had already loaded the destination, an exclusive neighborhood in the hills. She'd never driven that far up before. What? They rode in silence, the city slipping past in reflections on wet glass. After a while, his voice broke through the quiet. "Do you ever feel like everyone's pretending?" he asked. "Like no one cares unless there's something in it for them?" Jennifer glanced in the mirror. "More than you'd think," he waited. "I drive strangers all night," she continued. "Most barely look at me, but I keep showing up. My kid needs the lights on. That's the truth." "What's his name?" "Lucas." 5, he repeated. "That's a good age. Kids still believe in good things." Does," she said softly. "I'm trying to protect that for as long as I can." He leaned his head against the window, his voice lower. "Must be nice being needed just for who you are." She studied him in the mirror. Polished, expensive, but somehow hollow. Like someone who had everything but peace. She didn't know he was Logan Reed, CEO of one of the biggest rising tech empires in the country. To her, he was just a man trying to hold it together for one more night. When they reached the gates of a sleek glass and stone mansion tucked high in the hills, Jennifer slowed to a stop. She turned around. He was fast asleep, head tilted, mouth slightly parted, one arm resting across his lap. She hesitated. Should she wake him? Instead, she reached behind her seat and pulled out her faded denim jacket, the one she always kept in case the car heater gave out, and gently placed it over his chest. Then she stepped into the rain, walked up to the intercom, and pressed the button. A voice answered crackly and formal. "Yes, I brought Mr. Reed home. He's asleep in the car. Could someone come get him?" "Right away." Minutes later, a man in a dark uniform came jogging down the driveway with an umbrella. Jennifer opened the door. "He's fine," she said. "Just tired." The man nodded and carefully helped Logan out, supporting him as they disappeared into the quiet warmth of the house. Jennifer slid back into the driver's seat, rain dripping from her sleeves, and drove off into the night. She never asked who he really was, never cared what kind of empire he ran. To her, he was just a man who needed a ride home, and sometimes that was enough. Logan Reed woke to the scent of fresh linen and the soft tap of rain against the wide glass panels of his bedroom. His head ached, his mouth was dry. The last thing he remembered was the gala. Loud music, empty conversations, and too many fake smiles. He sat up slowly, gray morning light spilling through the windows. On the bench near the door was a folded denim jacket, not his. Next to it, a small piece of paper. The handwriting was neat and slanted. I brought you home safely. No extra charge. Sleep well, Jennifer G. Logan stared at the note, oddly moved. People who saw him vulnerable usually wanted something. This woman had left nothing behind but kindness and a signature that felt more like a whisper. Later that morning, still unsettled, Logan checked the rideshare app. Jennifer Grant, 5 stars, a modest profile, and a familiar license plate. He asked Daniel, his assistant, to find out more where she might work during the day. Not to pry, just curiosity. By noon, they were standing outside a small diner on 5th and Cedar. It smelled like coffee and bacon and the kind of years that clung to tile and booths. The rain had eased, leaving the street damp and quiet. Inside, Jennifer moved behind the counter, blonde hair tucked into a brown visor, carrying a tray of mugs. When she turned and saw him, her steps faltered. He smiled. "Hi. Hope I'm not interrupting." She looked between him and his assistant, confused. "You're the guy from the hotel." "Logan Reed," he confirmed. "I wanted to thank you for getting me home and for the note. And this." He held up the jacket. She nodded at it. "I figured you'd want it back. I don't usually leave notes, but you look like someone who needed a little kindness." Daniel took a seat at the far end of the counter, giving them space. Logan leaned on the counter, casual but sincere. "Would you let me take you to lunch as a real thank you?" Jennifer wiped her hands on her apron, shaking her head gently. "Thanks, but I can't. I have to pick up my son from school at 1 o'clock. He checked his watch. "It's only 11:30. I still need to finish my shift, get home, change, and cross town. And they're strict about pickup times." She wasn't apologizing. She was just explaining. Clear, honest, and without the usual attempts to please. "You're turning down lunch with a millionaire tech CEO to pick up a 5-year-old? He asked, half smiling. "I'd turn down lunch with the president if it meant being late for Lucas." Logan laughed. Really laughed. Not the polite kind he gave in boardrooms. Something real. "Well," he said, standing straight. "Again, that's rare. Most people would have pretended to consider it. I don't have the luxury of pretending," she said simply. "Not when it comes to him." He looked at her differently then. Not the uniform, not the diner, just her. The woman who had driven him home asked for nothing and still looked at him like he was just another man, not someone to impress, not someone to chase. "You're not like the others I've known," he said. Quietly, Jennifer gave a small, almost amused smile. "That's probably a good thing." He nodded once, then turned toward the door, the jacket still folded in his hand. "I'll bring this back another time," he said. She didn't stop him, but she watched him go, and even after the door closed, she stayed where she was for a long moment, still holding a tray still in her apron, but changed. Somehow, like something unexpected had just stepped through her life and quietly asked to be remembered. From that night on, Logan Reed started requesting rides more often than necessary, not for meetings or events, just for the chance that she might be the one to pick him up. More often than not, she did. Jennifer Grant never questioned it. She simply showed up, asked where he was headed, and drove. Sometimes they went across town, sometimes just around the block. Logan never explained, and she never asked. In the quiet of those rides, something began to form between them. Not attraction, not yet, but a kind of understanding. Two people from different worlds sharing a space where no one was pretending. One rainy evening, Jennifer shared her story, her voice calm and unembellished. "Left when I was 7 months pregnant," she said at a red light. Said he couldn't do it. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. I came home from work and half the apartment was gone. Logan turned his head. You were still working that far along. She shrugged. I had to. Rent doesn't care if your heart's broken. He was quiet. What about your family? My mom passed when I was 17. Never knew my dad. An aunt in Michigan, but we haven't talked in years. It's just me and Lucas. Now. Logan nodded. That's a lot. Jennifer gave a small smile. You get used to it. You learn how to stretch $30 across a week, and you pray your kid doesn't notice when you cry in the bathroom after bedtime. He didn't respond. He just listened. Another day, Jennifer asked with a half smile. So what about you, Mr. CEO? Big house. Personal chef, helicopter on standby. Logan chuckled. Yeah, all that. But you know what I don't have. She glanced at him in the mirror. What? People I trust. Her smile faded. That's worse than not having a chef. My best friend tried to sell out the company behind my back. 6 years of work gone in a handshake. My parents, they only call when they need a photo for their charity. They don't care how I am, just that I still look like someone successful. Jennifer didn't reply. She just gave a quiet nod. The kind that said, I hear you. I built something big, he added. But some nights it feels like I built a glass tower I can't escape. Everyone sees me, but no one really gets in, she said barely above a whisper. That's the loneliest kind of home. Then one Wednesday, everything shifted. Jennifer picked Logan up from a downtown office building. Her hands trembled slightly on the wheel, her voice thinner than usual. You okay? He asked. No. Lucas has a fever. The daycare called. I was supposed to take another ride after this, but I need to get to him. Go, he said without hesitation. I'll come with you. She paused, uncertain, but something in his voice made her nod. They drove in silence. When they arrived, Jennifer rushed into the brick daycare tucked behind a library. Logan waited in the car, watching the door. She returned. Minutes later, carrying Lucas, flushed and half asleep in her arms. Without a word, Logan got out and opened the passenger door. Let me drive, he said. She blinked. Wait, what? You shouldn't drive like this. Where's the hospital? She gave him directions. He took Lucas gently, buckled him in, and drove with steady hands, eyes sharp on the road. At the ER, Jennifer held her son and disappeared behind the double doors. Logan sat in the waiting room and stayed. For hours passed. People came and went. Nurses called names. Phones rang. Logan didn't move from his spot in the corner. Her old denim jacket folded neatly in his lap, the same one she had once used to cover him. When Jennifer finally stepped out, tired but relieved, Lucas asleep in her arms, she saw him. You stayed, she said, voice. Logan stood. Of course I did. Her eyes welled, but she only nodded. No one's ever done that before, she said barely above a breath. He gave her a small, quiet smile. Now someone has. It started with a blurry photo. Logan was walking out of the children's hospital beside Jennifer, one hand resting lightly on her back as she carried Lucas in her arms. The lighting was poor, the image grainy, but it was enough. Within 24 hours, the tabloids were buzzing. Tech mogul's secret family. Who is the blonde with the baby? Billionaire CEO seen leaving hospital with unknown woman and child. Jennifer saw the headline during her lunch break at the diner. Her stomach turned as she read the comments. Beneath the article, speculation, assumptions, judgment. Some painted her as a gold digger. Others called her the mystery nanny. No one got it right. She wanted to crawl under a rock. Later that evening, as the rain returned in soft, misting sheets, her phone buzzed. A message from Logan. Can we talk? She met him at a quiet cafe tucked in the corner of a bookstore, one of the few places in the city that felt untouched by scandal. Logan was already there, seated in the back, a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He looked up as she approached, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," he said before she even sat down. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Jennifer took the seat across from him, folding her arms. "You didn't take the photo." "No, but I should have known someone would." She nodded, biting the inside of her cheek. "It's not just the photo. People at work are whispering. My boss gave me this look today, like I've done something wrong just by knowing you. I want to fix this," he said gently, "which is why I'd like to make you an offer." She blinked. "What kind of offer?" "I want you to be my temporary personal driver officially. I'll handle the media, but I want you to be safe, and I want to give you some space from all the noise. The pay would be well more than you're making now." She stared at him. "More, 5 times more, actually. You could drop the diner job, set your own hours, be with Lucas more." Jennifer exhaled. "Logan, I know how that sounds," he said quickly, "but this isn't charity. I trust you. I'm comfortable with you behind the wheel. You don't fake anything, and I don't have to pretend either." Her throat tightened. She wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to say yes. But something inside her froze. "I can't take money from someone just because they feel bad for me," she said, her voice low. He leaned in. "Do you think this is pity? Think maybe you feel responsible for me now. Because I showed up when you were vulnerable, because you owe me something." Logan shook his head. "Jennifer, I don't want to rescue you. I want to work with you. I want a partner who doesn't look at me like a walking bank account. Do you know how rare that is?" She blinked back emotion, swallowing hard. "It just feels like too much. Can I ask you something?" he said, voice quieter now. "And you don't have to answer." She nodded slowly. "When's the last time someone asked you what you wanted? Not what Lucas needs, not what your job demands. Just you, Jennifer Grant. Do you even remember?" Her breath caught. "No," she whispered. "I don't remember." He leaned back, watching her closely. "Then maybe that's the problem. You've spent so long surviving, you forgot you're allowed to want something for yourself." That broke something open. Jennifer turned her face away, but the tears slipped down anyway. Not loud, not messy, just soft, silent. Acknowledgement of everything she had buried for too long. No one had ever asked her that before. "What do you dream of, Jennifer?" She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand, forcing a shaky smile. "You make it really hard to say no, you know that." "I'm okay with hard," Lone said softly, "as long as it's real." She looked at him, eyes still glassy. "Then let's try real." Jennifer hadn't said yes immediately. It took her 2 full days, several quiet walks with Lucas, and one long night staring at her cracked apartment ceiling before she finally accepted Logan's offer. When she showed up in his office garage the next Monday, dressed in black slacks and a clean button-down shirt, Logan only gave a small nod. No speeches, no celebration, just quiet understanding. For the next few weeks, Jennifer became part of his world. She drove him to meetings, waited outside glass-walled boardrooms, and occasionally stepped inside to hand him a file or retrieve a tablet. At first, no one looked at her. Then they started noticing her. The woman who didn't speak unless needed, who always knew where his next stop was, who adjusted his calendar before his assistant even asked. More than once, she surprised Logan with her observations, how she noticed a junior executive who kept showing up uninvited, or how one investor always checked his phone when certain numbers were discussed. "You pay attention," Logan said one day as they left a pitch meeting. "I have to," she replied. "In my world, missing a detail could mean missing a paycheck." He smiled at that, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like someone was watching out for him. He grew used to her presence, not just professionally, but personally. Her calm, steadiness in the car rides, the way she would remind him to eat lunch or tell him gently when his tone was too sharp in a meeting. She never flattered, never tiptoed, and he started to realize how much he had come to rely on her honesty. But comfort can make people careless. One Thursday morning, they arrived at a high-stakes partnership meeting at a luxury hotel downtown. The room was full of polished executives, including a new potential investor from overseas. Jennifer stood just outside the conference room door, organizing files in the hallway. She heard them laughing, not cruelly, just carelessly, like people do when they assume the help is out of earshot. And then she heard it. "So, Logan," one of the men chuckled, "is the blonde assistant your latest innovation, mixing business with pleasure now?" Another voice joined in. "If that's your idea of branding, I'd say it's working." Laughter followed. Jennifer froze. Her hands clenched around the folder. She waited until the meeting ended. She did not speak to Logan on the way out. She didn't mention the comment, didn't ask for clarification. She simply dropped him off at his office tower, nodded once, and drove away. That night, she did not show up at the usual time. The following morning, Logan's calls went unanswered. His texts remained unread. By the second day, he contacted the rideshare platform and confirmed what he already suspected. Jennifer had resigned. No goodbye, no explanation. At first, he was confused. Then, he was angry at himself. He replayed every moment in his head, searching for what he missed. And when his assistant casually mentioned the joke made during the investor meeting, Logan's stomach dropped. He knew immediately that was it. She thought she was just another passing interest, a curiosity, a temporary fixture in a world that never took her seriously. But she was wrong. And now, she was gone. Logan sat in his car in the middle of the city, surrounded by everything money could buy. And for the first time in years, he felt completely, utterly powerless. Because the one person who never wanted anything from him was the only one he couldn't convince to stay. And for the first time, he realized this wasn't just about her being his driver or his assistant or his friend. Jennifer had become something more. And now she was just gone. The morning Logan showed up at Jennifer's apartment, the sky was overcast and heavy, like it knew the conversation ahead would not be easy. He had never been to this part of town, not unless it was for a photo op or charity event he barely stayed for. The building was old, cracked sidewalks, peeling paint, faded numbers on the doors. He knocked twice. Jennifer opened the door just enough to see him, then leaned against the frame. She didn't invite him in. "Logan," she said, her voice cool. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you," he said. "You left without saying anything." She folded her arms. "What would you have wanted me to say?" "I'm sorry about the meeting. About what they said." Jennifer shook her head. "I didn't leave because of what they said. I left because of what you didn't." He looked down. "I didn't hear it in time. If I had, I didn't need you to defend me," she cut in. "I just needed to know I mattered to you outside of your schedule." Silence. "I've spent too long being someone's afterthought, Logan," she said softer now. "Someone's pity project. I've fought hard to stand on my own. I don't need rescuing." He nodded slowly. "I didn't come to rescue you. I came because I miss you. Because I made a mistake. And because I need you. Not because I'm lonely, but because I'm more myself around you than I've ever been." Her expression didn't change. "Goodbye, Logan." And she gently closed the door. 2 days later, she found a letter slipped under the door, folded inside a plain envelope. It sat on the kitchen counter untouched while she made breakfast. Lucas sat at the table in his pajamas, coloring dinosaurs. Jennifer didn't read the letter right away. She poured cereal, fed the cat, picked up a stray sock. But by the time Lucas was napping, she sat on the couch and opened it. "Dear Jennifer, I don't know if you'll read this. Maybe you'll throw it away. But there are things I need to say, and this is the only way I know how. I used to dream about a life where I mattered. Not for what I built, but for who I was. I imagined having a family, not for the cameras, for the quiet parts. A wife who saw me, a child who looked at me like I was something good. When I met you, you didn't see a CEO. You saw a tired man who needed to get home. And since that night, nothing has felt the same. It's felt lighter, truer. I don't want to fix you. I don't want to change you. I just want to know you again. I miss your honesty. I miss Lucas's laugh. I miss you. If you can forgive me, I'd like a second chance. Not to prove anything, just to be someone worthy of sitting across from you again. Bowen. Jennifer folded the letter slowly. Her throat tightened. She left it on the counter. Later that day, Lucas wandered by, rubbing his eyes after his nap. He pointed at the letter. Did you write that? She shook her head. Logan did. Lucas stared at it for a moment. Then with the quiet wisdom only a child could have, he asked, why don't you give him a chance like you do when I mess up? Jennifer blinked. What do you mean? You always say people deserve another chance if they mean it. She didn't answer. She just pulled him into her arms and held him close. That night, after he'd gone to bed, she picked up her phone. Her message was short. Let's talk soon. There was never a formal conversation about what they were. No labels, no titles. It just happened. After Jennifer's message, they met at a small cafe near her apartment. No cameras, no pressure, just two people sharing quiet air. From then on, they spent more time together. Real time. Logan stopped sending a driver. Instead, he'd show up himself, often with 2 coffees in hand and that soft, unsure smile that never fully settled until Lucas ran to greet him with a shout of, Logan. They went to the park on Sundays. Lucas brought his dinosaurs. Jennifer brought a book she rarely opened. Logan brought juice boxes and the kind of patience that only grows when someone's learning how to love a child for the first time. One Saturday morning, Jennifer walked into the kitchen to find Logan at the stove, sleeves rolled up, flipping something misshapen in a pan. What are you doing? She asked, arms crossed. Trying not to laugh. Trying to impress your son, he said. He said his pancakes usually have eyes and legs. Jennifer laughed freely, fully, and it caught Logan off guard. He paused to watch her, and for a moment, the kitchen felt like home. She joined him, showing him how to add blueberries and banana slices. And though the pancakes weren't perfect, Lucas declared them the best space pancakes in the galaxy. They never talked about love, but it was everywhere. In the way Logan helped Lucas with his shoelaces. How Jennifer saved him the crispiest corner of the lasagna. How he stayed later each time, and never needed a reason to return. When Logan's birthday approached, Jennifer asked what he wanted. I don't celebrate, he said. Why not? Always been boardroom lunches or media events. People come because they're supposed to, not because they want to. She didn't argue. But on the evening of his birthday, he walked into her apartment to find paper streamers across the ceiling, a paper crown on the table, and a small, slightly lopsided chocolate cake with one crooked candle. Lucas wore a party hat and beamed. Jennifer stood in the kitchen. Lucas insisted, she said, drying her hands on a towel. Logan stared at the cake for a long time before whispering, No one's ever done this for me. Jennifer smiled. It's not much, it's everything. That night, he didn't go home. They didn't cross any lines. They just fell asleep on the couch. Lucas curled between them, the apartment filled with the quiet scent of cake and something warmer. A few weeks later, Logan invited Jennifer to the launch event for his company's newest tech branch, a high-profile affair in the heart of the city. Jennifer hesitated. Are you sure you want me there? I don't exactly blend in, Logan answered. That's why I want you there. You remind me why I started this. She wore a simple navy mule dress, nothing extravagant. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. At the entrance, Logan met her, offered his arm, and walked her inside, not as a date or an accessory, but as a choice. And maybe finally, she believed she belonged. They didn't kiss, didn't hold hands, but the way he stood beside her made a statement. This is the person who matters. The media took notice. Within hours, headlines appeared. Logan Reed's mystery date stuns at launch. Who was the woman beside the Wall Street Ice King? CEO softens, and she's the reason. Logan didn't respond to any of it. But when Jennifer scrolled through one article titled "The Woman Who Changed the Coldest Men in Tech," she laughed. "You're famous again," she teased. Logan smiled at her. Something quiet and steady behind his eyes. Not because of what I built this time, but because of who I'm building with. That night, Lucas was already asleep. When they returned, the city lights blinked softly outside her window. Jennifer curled into Logan's side on the couch, the warmth between them quiet and real. Life wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and that made all the difference. The park had not changed. Same bench by the duck pond. Same rusted swings. Same food truck still selling average sandwiches that tasted better under the open sky. Jennifer sat beside Logan, her shoes brushing gravel. Lucas ran across the grass chasing squirrels, his laughter echoing through the trees. "This is where it all started," Logan said, handing her half of a sandwich. "The first time I realized I could breathe again." Jennifer smiled. "The day Lucas spilled juice on your $2,000 shoes. Still worth it?" Logan replied. He paused, then added, "Feels like the right place for something else, too." He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Jennifer's breath caught. No grand gesture, no speech, just quiet certainty. Inside was a simple gold ring. No diamond, just one small engraving. One day at a time. Logan looked at her. Nervous, but steady. "I'm not promising perfection. I'll mess up, but I promise. I'll stay through the hard, the messy, the unknown." Jennifer looked at the ring, then at him. The same man who once sat broken in her car now looked at her. Like she was his whole direction home. "If you think I'm going to become some polished woman who fits into your world, charity guyas, designer gowns, the answer is no. I don't," he said. "But if you want something real, something we build from scratch, one burnt pancake at a time, then yes." Logan let out a shaky laugh and slipped the ring on her finger. He kissed her hand. Lucas ran over, cheeks flushed. "Are we going home now?" Jennifer looked at Logan, then back at her son. "Yeah," she said. "We are." The wedding was quiet, held in the backyard of Logan's new house. Not huge, but warm. Only 20 guests came, a few coworkers, Jennifer's neighbor, and Lucas's favorite daycare teachers. There were fairy lights in the trees, cupcakes. Instead of a cake, Lucas carried the rings in his tiny hands. Jennifer wore a thrifted dress she had sewn herself. Logan wore no tie. What people noticed most was Logan's mother, elegant and reserved, crying silently as her son read his vows, hand trembling in Jennifer's. "I've made money," Logan said, "but this is the first time I've made something real." Later, on the rooftop of their new home, the city lights flickered below. Logan sat with Jennifer beside him. Lucas between them, wrapped in a starry fleece blanket. The sky above was wide and quiet. Jennifer rested her head on his shoulder. "You happy?" Logan exhaled. "I used to think I needed someone who made me sharper, someone who'd push me to be more, do more." He looked at Lucas, already drifting off to sleep. "But what I really needed," he whispered, "was someone who made me want to be the kind of man this little boy could call dad." Jennifer reached for his hand. No words, just warmth. And beneath the stars, in the hush of a life they built together, Logan knew he was finally home. Sometimes love finds us in the quietest, most unexpected moments. If Jennifer and Logan's journey moved you, remind you of hope, or simply warmed your heart, please subscribe to Stories and tap that hype button to support our channel. Your support helps us keep telling real emotional stories that touch the soul and remind us what truly matters. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next story.